In general, we just haven't been lucky, but well, that's just how it is, my dear friends, that it was the first quarter of the 21st century that became, well, let's be honest, at least with each other. The first quarter of the 21st century has become the era of fools and the triumph of fools. Of course, this is more noticeable in Russia. But in Russia, it's understandable. Cretinism has become the official state ideology of the Russian Federation. And any genuine thought, any glimmer of reason causes unbearable pain and severe trauma to Putin's Russian world. Any display, even the slightest of reason, is regarded as treason against the motherland. Logic is outlawed in Russia, and any form of thinking is considered extremism. And this exotic, savage state must be carefully maintained, because otherwise the state might collapse. Russians, according to the Kremlin's thinking, must become absolutely convinced that only complete intellectual decadence, only degradation, is the foundation of their collective happiness and the greatness of the country. Regimes of this kind, like Putin's, are built on nothing else. And so, in order for this delusion to become the very air that Russians breathe, all Putin's officials, both high ranking and low, have a duty to make utterly absurd statements once a week. What am I getting at? I'm getting at the fact that the chairman of the State Duma, Volodin, well, he regularly proves that he's in the right place because with his stupidity, whether genuine or performed, surpasses all the other inhabitants of the lower house. And this amusing pom-pom, today he pulled another stunt, declaring that any defensive actions by a country resisting Russian occupation, resisting genocide, any acts of defense, any protective actions by that country are terrorism, banditry, and a violation of the sacred right of Russians to rob and kill. I've covered all of this in detail on my channel, including Volodin's point of view. There, of course, he calls Zelensky an expired, used up bar of soap who wants to cling to power at any cost, even through terrorism. Well, of course, Volodin is the epitome of absurdity. But whether he is truly insane or just pretending it doesn't matter. Because this display of a lack of cause and effect reasoning is a powerful, brilliant technique for influencing the audience, which in this case is the entire country. And this technique only seems like naive foolishness, something idle and useless. It may seem, yes, that what Volodin said is obviously schizophrenic, but it shouldn't be underestimated. The technique is powerful. It's a very effective thing, even more potent than all sorts of conspiracy theory radiation. And tinfoil hats are powerless here. The thing is, Russians are a people who revere authority, and this reverence for authority, this deference to superiors, is stronger among Russians than among other people. And this trait can be exploited endlessly. This servility, it's not just external and constantly drummed into people from podiums and the heights of government. These endlessly repeated absurdities get absorbed into the Russian mind and into the rules of Russian life. And as experience shows, the population very quickly loses all sense of direction and the ability to distinguish between good and evil. If the most absurd, unbelievable things are proclaimed by those in power, they are guaranteed to take root in people's minds. And over time, in the collective mind of the people, they turn into the truth. And categories like good and evil, well, in principle, they interest the inhabitants of Russia very little. They can easily be swapped. It's not like we're talking about the price of peas. Minor things like swapping good for evil or evil for good, the people won't even notice. Just like, for example, truth, lies, and other seemingly fundamental concepts. And to create this wall of madness, a country living in absurdity according to the laws of evil and nonsense is really not such a difficult task at all. And Putin is proving that right now. The thing is, well, he has no other choice. The stupefaction of the country's inhabitants is the key to preserving the regime. It's clear that if Russians, even for a second, were to wake up, they would quickly realize what's really happening, what is being done to them, and how ruthlessly their fates and they themselves are being disposed of. But it seems they're no longer destined to sober up. Well, maybe that's not so bad, because under the anesthesia of this madness, under the anesthesia of this delusional Russian racist idea, it will probably be easier for them to endure both the collapse of the country and the disasters to come. Well, we know that liberalism, liberals, the exiled Democrats still believe that with just a couple of kisses, they'll wake up the unfortunate population and bring them out of Putin's coma. The main thing for them is to be allowed access to the people's body and to be given a chance to plant a kiss. And then the magical effect of smart voting and flashlights will awaken the unfortunate giant, the people. They will break Putin's chains. And then there will be a free and happy Russia, where Volodin and Katz will spin around in a charming waltz. Well, I suspect that's not how things will turn out. And as you can see, what I suspect usually comes true.